In the last video of this series, Karen is going to share a few tips for communicating the right messages with your photos. So let's hear from her. So, the last tip we were hoping to get your expert advice on. We've all heard the expression, a photo is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that's very important to our breeding community is communicating through our photos. What differentiates your breeding program? So, how do we capture, ideas or emotions around trustworthiness or being a reputable breeder, or even just to make your dogs look expressiveness or photogenic on camera? Really, how do we do that? And how do you know, consider the overall composition of your photos in advance of just, snapping your camera?
Okay, great. So I think that when it comes to breeding, that you want your puppies to look happy, healthy, and that you trust the breeder that's providing you with your pup. So baseline for happy and healthy is it goes without saying your puppies have to be clean. If they've got little stuff in their eyes, clean that. Like get rid of the tear stains. Their eyes should be bright. The puppy should be in focus. Looking at the camera is often a winner. I think you mentioned at the beginning that with adoption photos, they prove that the better the adoption photo is, the more likely that an animal has in being adopted. And I would say that most adoption photos are akin to a mugshot. Think about why we hate our passport photos. Think about if you've ever watched on the news when you see after someone's been arrested a mugshot, they look guilty, right? Because it's a horrible image. And passport photos, even, you're just told to look, stare, don't smile, show your ears. Like it's not a beautiful image. So as a baseline in focus, lighting is on point and you can see that the puppy is clean and healthy. Now, the second thing is, and it's your background, because your puppy can be beautiful and gorgeous, but if your background is detracting from the puppy, it's not helping you at all. So I looked at the Paction website and I looked at some of the breeders there, and I'm not going to show photos because I don't want to shame anybody and I don't want anyone to think that they're getting a prize or something. But there were some things there that I saw that might help that you're not even realizing that some of these photos, because all of those puppies are gorgeous, all of those puppies are wonderful, but there are some things in the background that are not helping you. If you are photographing inside, clean, clean, clean. Blankets, baskets, cushions, chairs. Do not use white unless you can get it white in photos. So I did see some that looked like dirty blankets, or it was like a dingy gray. There were some individuals that looked like they were using either seamless white paper or they had like a box or something. And it was this dingy gray that kind of looked institutional. So use white only if you can get it white. Keep your items for photography aside from the towels and linens that you might use when you're actually working and a puppy's being born and that, where they live. And you want to keep your photography stuff pristine if you can. Obviously, you're going to have little accidents and you'll have to take care of that. Anything that gives the idea that the puppies are not raised in a clean environment will not do well. If you are choose to do outside, and there was a number of you that did that as well, I saw a number on grass. So choose a nice, lush piece of green grass. The burnt out, prickly brown, yellow grass it gives you this automatic feeling of prickliness and, on a little puppy butt. You don't want that feeling of, oh, is this puppy uncomfortable? The same goes for don't photograph them on gravel. Like gravel, we all know we wouldn't walk on gravel, so don't photograph them on gravel. A asphalt can give the idea, like depending on how hot that day was or how hot your viewer thinks it was. Again, little burnt doggy bums. It doesn't give anyone a happy feeling. Wood with splinters, so make sure if you're going to photograph them on porches or on benches, like all of those are clean and that they don't give this idea of you know, the the puppies in some kind of distressful situation. Um, there was Oh, and in terms of posing and things like that, I'll show you a photo. Are we still sharing? Yeah, we are. Okay. So head tilts are always a winner. Looking at the camera, you want at least a photo where you can clearly see the expression of the kitty. And just to prove to you, I don't just do kitties. Again, this was a an event. I'm showing you event photos, but again, puppies can do head tilts as well. We interpret, as humans, I think we interpret a little bit of tongue as a smile. So there's no, anyone looking at that is going to think that puppy is, well, he's not a puppy, but that doggy is happy. Um, and again, you want kind of that not overheated tongue, that you get on hot days where it's just like hanging out, but just a little bit where they kind of have that personality to them. I'm trying to think, is there any, oh, don't give the idea that they are abandoned. So a puppy in the middle of a cavernous expanse sometimes will give people kind of a funny feeling about, well, how long was that puppy by himself out there with nobody taking care of them? Even though logically we know if somebody's photographing, they obviously are there. Last thing is, I know we've talked a lot about consistency. And I want to show you something here because it frightens people sometimes. This is actually a kitten breeder. So these are very, very consistent. I mean, you have the same background, you have the same pose. They're all sitting except for this little one who would not sit no matter what we did. The lighting is the same. Sure, we can aim for this, but I want to show you an event that I did where you have no control over, or very little control over who shows up. And this was an event done for it's a very pet friendly rental building, and so they do this for their as appreciation for their tenants. But if you look at this, if you look at each individual photo, there are dogs, there are cats, there are people who are wearing just whatever they were wearing that day. There are carriers, there are cats in arms, sometimes we have the bench, sometimes it's not there. But what we do have is still a version of consistency because our background is very similar, our lighting is very similar, the posing is, similar enough. And that's what you kind of want. You don't need to necessarily, if it's just, spend all this time trying to get the exact replica of a photo of each of your pups, especially if you've got one that won't do what the others do. But if you can, you look at this, and I think anybody would say, okay, that was photographed on the same day by the same photographer in the same conditions. And that's kind of what you want, is that when somebody comes to your website, they know where they are. They know what breeder they're dealing with. They know that there's somewhere that they can trust. And it goes the same for your Paction. I'll stop sharing for your Paction profile as well, because there you have a number of breeders, and you want somebody who lands on your profile to know that they're where they think they should be and that everything looks consistent. And that means I'm with XYZ breeder, as opposed to the next breeder who will also have their own brand. And that's the power of a brand, is people buy into that brand and suddenly they want puppies from you.
That's phenomenal, Karen. Thank you so much. I mean, it's crazy, the level of professionalism that is conveyed by just simply being very consistent like that.
Right.
It's a simple, but yet, yeah, I think hard to identify if you're not an expert in marketing, or as a photographer. But incredible tips there. Thank you so much, Karen. And before we let you go, we want to hear a little bit about how we can get your help for those of us who are in Toronto and the GTA, and know that we can't necessarily achieve this ourselves at home and maybe need the help of a professional, at least in the beginning to get going. So, yeah, please share with us a little bit about your services and, yeah, what you have to offer the breeding community here at Paction.
Yes, so I do breeders' photos. I photograph the litters usually once, depending on it's 6, 7, 8 weeks in and around there when they're small. The benefit of working with a photographer is that you are a breeder and that is your expertise. I wouldn't dream of trying to breed animals because I've just simply not gone through the training and I wouldn't do that. So you want an expert. If that's what you're looking for, then you want a photographer that specializes in animals. If you work with the same photographer, the benefit of that is that they will get to know your breed, they'll get to know your brand. I always ask people, like it's not just that I show up and take photos. I'm definitely, asking them so that we can plan this out in some way. You can also get photos of you, your headshot. A lot of people hide on their websites. Your About You page, everybody will tell you should have a photo of you. Now you're looking for a random photo that you're not maybe so proud of. You can get that. You can also get photos of your staff if that's your operation, photos of your location, photos of you interacting with the puppies, feeding time. You can build a stock library if that's what you want to do. And you also have the benefit of if you're not so flexible, because little puppies and little kittens, they're very, very small. And so you either have to get them up off the ground so that you can photograph them kind of straight on, or you have to be ready to lay on the ground and I get into the weirdest positions. So that's you can outsource that piece is all the gymnastics that you go through. But yeah, I live in the GTA, so I service a lot of Southern Ontario. And if you want to get a hold of me, I'm sure it's poshpetsphoto.com, but I'm sure there'll be some information in the show notes.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for being with us here today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.